What is up, guys? It's Verns back here again with another Supercoach video, and today we are hyped. Look, first of all, let's just start off with the Pies getting a great win and just beautiful way to start the weekend. And then to finish it, rank 15 for the round to start the season. I am so chuffed right now. I know I'd usually be wearing my Pies top at this point, but I did wear it on Saturday, and I was drinking and sweating a lot, and it needs a wash, so I am not putting it on right now. But yeah, team comes out and absolutely crushes it. I was so hyped. 445 points. 15 to start the season. It just feels so good to know all that preseason work that we put in really worked out. And for those that did follow along, and even on my last video where I did the final team reveals and I put up like 4 structures, obviously structure 1 was around if Ian Clark got up or not. He doesn't get up, so let's pretend that you paid attention enough to know that and you didn't go with structure 1. Structure 2, 3, and 4 had pretty good results. Obviously, I ended up going basically with structure 3. I ended up making one change at the end, and that pushed me up to 15th, which is oh goodness, I've never seen that on my account before, and I am so hyped up. I am so happy. I am so ready for this season. Let's go. Oh, look, I guess the one mistake we made at the end of the day, we'll jump into the team, was having Aldridge. Hindsight's 2020 here. A lot of the decisions I made were around players having double up games. And that's one of the reasons I went Ben Air over Isaac White, was he had the double up game. Like they both, Isaac White didn't have the double up, Ben Air did, and technically I was thinking Ben Air gets moved out by round 5 and I'm probably bringing in Armstrong, so because of that he's going to have one more game than Isaac White, more points and probably a higher price rise. So that's what convinced me there, as well as Gary Brown not playing game 1 really just sort of sold you on it. So we ended up going there, and look, that's the logic I used with a lot of these picks, but Aldridge was one of those picks that I didn't use that logic with, and I did talk about it when I was talking about the teams that I wanted to fit in Galloway from Adelaide and Aldridge. We couldn't quite get them both. And hindsight's 2020, but we just make that simple change. We have Aldridge here. Maybe I actually use that brain of mine, because Aldridge only plays 2 games in the first 2 rounds. We could have had Galloway in this spot. Galloway obviously plays 4 games in the first 2 rounds, has a price rise. Then we trade him in for Aldridge. Gain points probably off the 4 games plus the price rise, but I didn't do that, and that was the difference between a rank 1 or not. So, like, I guess unfortunate, but I mean, I'm so stoked with how this turned out. And honestly, Aldridge is good enough that I thought he could put down as many points as Galloway does, and potentially more in these 2 games than him in 4. Saying that, obviously the difference is Galloway, even if he doesn't put in as many points as Aldridge, just say Aldridge drops 20 points both games, Galloway ends up dropping 18 in his double and then 15 in his double, and a little bit less overall, but because he's played those 4 games, he would get affected by that price rise overall, maybe making him more valuable overall. So yeah, I'm going to stop rambling on about that. We're going to go through the team quickly, and then we're going to go through trade options for the week and my plans for week 2. First of all, I do think I was thinking a little bit too long-term and too AFL Supercoach when I was setting a lot of these things up. Saying that, I think I've set the team up with a great start because of that 5-week sort of that I've looked at. But we're going to be a lot more aggressive with these trades. I did look into it into the week, which also helped with my trades planning. What was actually happening, and the answer was 2 trades every round with 4 boosts. That's a total of 44 trades that you can make over the year. We start with 42. I'm pretty sure that's 44 over the year. I mean, technically we're on round 2 already, so maybe it's 42. We're basically at unlimited trade format. Like, I don't know why it just doesn't say unlimited at the top there, and then you just get the 4 boosts. That's what it should say, honestly. But that means that we need to be trading more aggressively, and I needed to... And because of that, I already have plans to be really aggressively moving for this first week, and then back onto week 3. And I think the week coming, it'll be a bit of a slower week for us, because for those people that picked up like Tasmanian players, Brisbane players, Cairns players, Sydney players, those, as their core players on field, they're about to come into their double ups now, and they're probably going to have a much better week than we are, so we might have a bit of regression here, but I think we're set up really well for week 3 onwards. So I think by the end of week 3, and we'll probably see a good idea after week 5 as to where we truly sit. Saying that as well, I do think Sorry, what was I going to say? I actually just blanked really hard. That's okay. We blanked. We'll continue on. But yeah, it's just we have a good team set up, and I'm really keen to get into this and just keep just absolutely crushing it as we move forward. Sorry, I do remember what I was going to say now. Obviously, I said week 5 will truly show the team differences. I do think week 1 at the end of the day was very cut and dry on what you wanted, because you just wanted to make sure that you obviously pick these players with a good early game route. What happens now, though, is we end up in this situation where it's like, oh, Galloway has a double, Travers doesn't. Let's put maybe Galloway on and see how that works on. Oh, Air has a double, Dellavedova doesn't. Do we put him on or not? Because, I mean, if Air comes out with 2 18s again, 36 points, Delhi puts out 32 as his average, it really comes down to, does Delhi hit that 32 again? Does Air hit that 18 average again? That's where the question comes in, and that's where I think teams are going to really change up a bit here, with those ones that take the risk on these higher valued higher valued starting, rookie priced picks versus these premium picks, or maybe even value picks, you could call them. So there's these value picks versus these premium picks. Who's going to end up with more points when one's on the double and one's not? But yes, sorry, as I said, I'm going to jump through this really quickly. Team-wise, as we said, Cook, big must-have in my opinion, and he just came out. Really good games from him. There was unfortunately some moments. Every game there's some moments where you just miss plays and it really hurts. I think there was multiple times Delhi threw up an alley-oop to Travers or to Hook Porty, and it's like, that's a 4-point play for my super coach. Damn it! Because they couldn't finish the bucket, and it ends up being 0, and it was a bit painful there. Cook comes out in the double, super good. Travers was honestly sensational as well. He really showed why he was a great starting pick, and there's a reason that Hook Porty, Cook, Dellavedova didn't really leave my team even when I was going through all the team variations. Travers was one of those players that left my team, but it really came down to the structure I was going with, and I really wanted him in there, so I decided to stick it strong, keep Travers in there. He was just so good, so many ways to score. He gets rebounds, he gets points, he makes assists, he gets blocks, so good. Galloway, now look, with this, obviously, there were games on Grand Final Day. Those are the only games I haven't watched yet. I actually plan on going back to watch those to help me make some decisions here. But I didn't see Galloway play. I didn't see Aldridge play. 32 and 10, though. I'm very happy with those. Hook Porty comes out with a 64 and just shows why I was just saying he needs to be a must-have. When I talked about the high percentage players that I owned that I didn't agree with, I said that Cook and Hook Porty need to be must-haves. They need to be 70% plus, and they definitely showed it why in week 1. Hook Porty now, it's a big question for a lot of people. If you don't have him, do you bring him in for a single game? It sucks to only get a single game, but he's going to have a massive price jump. If we just take a real quick look at that break-even, minus 23, he's going to have a massive price jump, and if you wait that extra week, you may struggle to actually fit him into your team, or have to move maybe one of these more expensive players down to him that you didn't want to have to move just to fit your structure, just because he's that valuable. Or do you skip on him? Or do you just pick him up for the 1 week, accept that, hey, it sucks that I'm going to bite the bullet here. It sucks that I didn't start him at the end of the day, but he is a must-have, and that cash is too important to miss. Because at the end of the day, cash is very hard to come by. This isn't going to be like AFL or NRL where we have these rookies come in later on in the season and we can rotate them in sort of thing and get cash and improve our team. No, we have to pick our cash value picks early on in the season, and we need to make it. The only one that I can really see that doesn't fall into that category is technically Bannan, or Bannon, however you say it. From Brisbane, because he's actually out for 3 weeks. That's why you don't see him in this team here. He's out for 3 weeks. He will come back. When he comes back, does he come back on good double games? Does he come back on single games? When does he come back? And then he ends up maybe being a great downgrade later on to help us advance our teams. But outside of that, it's pretty rare to get that. So continuing on with the team, Saar also comes out, good games. He has one really big game, and then I loved this game between him and Cook in the second game when they got up in each other's grill. Oh my goodness, it was... They were fire, and they were really trying to get each other back as well. That also, I guess, happened in game 1. Cook got a massive alley-oop dunk, and then the very next play, Melbourne run it down. And Delhi tries to give one to Hook Porty to get the revenge dunk on the alley-oop. But that's, as I said, that's the one that Hook Porty misses, and you're like, no, 4-point play, baby. But yeah, he looks like a superstar for us. He's going to be a moneymaker for us. Yeah, it's so good. Cotton comes out with 62. Very happy with that as a captain option. I don't think we were really looking anywhere else. If other people were crazy enough to go for like Travers or Hook Porty, I mean, I just don't think you do, because that's why we brought Bryce in. He has the double game, and he was our captain. He was reliable captain. He was the safe captain, easy captain. He still scored, I think, the 4th highest behind these 3 players. Like, this was literally the highest score of the week, 2nd highest, 3rd highest, 4th highest. Like, just nuts that we ended up starting them all, and they really fired how we wanted. But yeah, unfortunately, because of Bryce's elevated price, it does make his break-even 50. If he doesn't meet it, he will drop. So he is definitely someone that you started with week 1. And trades-wise, just, I guess, a bit of spoiler for the rest of the video, he is someone that you trade out right now. You trade him out, he's going to drop in cash. You bring in somebody who's on the double week that's a bit cheaper. That could be Mitch Creek. That could be Adams. That could be Valentine. That could be Milton Doyle. Players like that who have the double right now coming in. You move him down there. Hopefully they can have good games that increase in value. Bryce goes down a bit in value. And then when you go back to Bryce the following week, you're going to get him down at a cheaper price, and then he'll have a double again, and it'll just be really nice. So yeah, I think starting Bryce just works so well for the team cohesion here. And once again, same with Hook Porty being on the field, just him. Nice cheap price made life easy. Daly, nice cheap price made life easy. Once again, someone who was a crazy good break even because he was nice and cheap, especially for what he could put out. And then Air and Henshaw, great work from Air. I mean, Air's really looking like a strong defensive player for them. I mean, with Brown out, he started, but then he started again the following game anyway. And he just looks like he's getting big minutes because he's putting in that defensive hustle. And at the end of the day, if he's going to be putting in this defensive hustle that's going to get him minutes, that means there's opportunity in offense for him to be able to get a shot, get an assist, get a steal, even get a cheeky rebound here or there. So as long as he can keep getting those minutes by putting in that hard defensive work, I'm really happy with him. And then Henshaw, I was blown away when Henshaw didn't play game 1. I was like, shoot, did I misread this? Like, was this the wrong pick? I thought he was in front of both the Harris boys, but both of them played and he didn't. Crazy. I mean, look, Perth ended up starting off behind against Taz, and they had the comeback, and you had Usher go absolutely ballistic. And I think that's the big problem here, is that the players that Henshaw would normally rotate on for were playing really well. And then it just didn't really need him. And then when Hiram Harris came in, he's just an energy baller that's going to hustle absolutely everything. He came in, made some great hustle plays, and earned his minutes. So then he stayed on for a bit longer. Mike Harris came on and didn't really do much at the end of the day. But then Henshaw gets an opportunity in the second game. Things aren't going as well. He comes on and he just adds that fire, making great passes. Great knockdown shooter. He's just getting involved. He's getting steals, especially at the end of the game. He got a bunch of steals, which really helped elevate that. And it just ended up so well for us. Now, for those that are looking to get Henshaw in this week, I actually think you don't. He only played 1 game this week. He's only got 1 game on the coming week, meaning after 2 games, he's not going to have a price rise or anything like that. So you can avoid him and focus on somebody who has a double game this week. Saying that, we saw game 1, he didn't get minutes, and it's not that he's not a great player, but depending on the situation, sometimes these guys that are 2nd or 3rd down the rotation, like role-wise, like if you're the 3rd point guard on the list or the 2nd point, like you might not get those minutes depending on the game type and the situation and the opponent and just all those variables. And unfortunately, he didn't get a game 1. I don't think that's going to be a problem moving forward, but I do think for most people who are looking to get him in, because I've seen people trying to trade him in, it's not a trade for this week. There's better trade options to bring in these guys on the double, bring in these guys who are going to have a price rise. And then if you want to bring in Henshaw the following week for someone else that you're not 100% happy with, sure, feel free to do that. But I just don't think he's the player this week, unfortunately. But yeah, that's the team. Things worked out awesome. Now, I'm sure you're all wondering about Galloway and why I went Galloway over Tui. I talked about in my videos how good Tui was and all that. I ended up going back over the Blitz games, and I had a bit of a look at the Sydney lineup because I was really interested in these Sydney players. And once I did do a bit of a look, I think I was getting the two Galloways confused here and there a little bit. I thought the other one was doing a bit more than what he was doing, and I thought this one wasn't doing as much as what he was doing. But hindsight-wise, I went back, looked at that information, and was like, actually, Jalen Galloway went nuts in all three of those blitz games. Like, his worst game, he dropped 18 points. At his price, he's priced like 10.5. Like, 18 points in a worst-case game. That seems pretty good for me. Hogg is still out of the team at the moment, meaning I'm pretty sure Hogg might be returning this week, though. He's very close. I'm going to quickly actually just look him up. I could have just put him straight here, but I didn't. Injury, yeah, expected to be back this week. They weren't even sure if he was going to play game one. But look, Galloway just looks like he's moved to this club. He looks like he's had some guaranteed minutes. He played in the system last year, so he's got that extra games behind his belt. Technically, in the blitz games, if you just do a direct comparison of him and Tui, he had 3 great games, even 2.5. He had 2 amazing games, and then 1 game that was pretty good, maybe not on the same level as the other 2. Tui had 2 games that were pretty good, and then 1 that was a complete flop. Now, even comparing those directly, Galloway, amazing, went nuts, ballistic in one of those games, outperformed Tui, who still had a good game. The next game, Tui, Galloway, very close. I couldn't say who outperformed them, but I'd say, looking at the stats, technically Tui had a better game, but they were very close together, very few Supercoach points apart, and that was Galloway's worst game. And then the final game of the Blitz, Galloway went ballistic again, had another great game, close to 30 points until he put out a 9, and it was like, hindsight, it looks like Galloway's maybe the better pick here. Looks like he's been in the system, so he's probably a little bit more used to it, and it's less likely for him to come out with this, with these early game jitters or anything like that, and just maybe put out a poor performance. So decided to back in Jalen Galloway, and it just worked out dividends for our team. So we're going to jump in. We're going to look at our trades this week. I've already told you, Cotton, out of here. Now, the next player out of this team, look, it's really Henshaw versus Aldridge. To a degree, it almost doesn't matter which one I'm moving out here. Just because they're only playing 1 game this week, both of them. They're not going to have a price change. I'm probably going to bring Aldridge in on the following week. Will I end up bringing Henshaw back in on the following week? Probably as well. So this is really just a 1-week swing to get a bit of a points grab and a bit of a cash grab. So, yeah, we'll make a decision there in just a second. I'm just going to move Aldridge out for now, just so we get a good look at the entire list as well. Just talking about the list, I'll just talk about some players here. So Will Cummings comes out with a great game, someone that was in my original video. But there is a lot of guards running through this team, and look, he did really well, and would have been a great pick for a lot of people to start him. Jackson Cartwright, my goodness. Sorry, Jackson Cartwright. Insane. 1 game, 57 points. He absolutely smashed this 1 game. Unfortunately, he plays for New Zealand, and we can't pick New Zealand players. Why? They've got 1 game this week, and then they've got a bye. You want to pick them up round 4? When they get back, and I'm pretty sure they have a single when they get back, which is super awkward as well. So they end up with a single this week, then they have a bye, and then they come back for a single before 2 doubles. So you can bring him in for the price rise on their single game, and then get him for 2 doubles afterwards, but it's a little unfortunate he doesn't have a double when he's coming back. But yeah, if he can put out some 30-point games, he's going up 44K by that point. It's going to be very hard to get in after that. But yeah, absolutely nuts from him. Now, Jacob Wiley, someone else who was in our starting team when we first made the videos. He came out and he looked good, and this is what I talked about when I first picked him in my original team. He only played 14 minutes of court time in one of the scratch games, and he looked really good in that 14 minutes. Had crazy good stats, looked really good, was damn, this guy's good. Then the blitz came around, and he did nothing in that first blitz game, and then he decided, I'm injured, I'm going to miss the next 2 games. Now, did that injury affect his first blitz game as to why he wasn't very good? I couldn't tell you, but I don't even remember if he played the second one and then went off injured. I don't quite remember, but yeah, he was just very poor in the blitz, and this is what made me jump off him personally, but came back and showed us that the 14 minutes we saw in that little, snippet of the preseason, that was more realistic towards what he can do, and he comes out with some great games here, and puts out 56 overall, which is, really good. Now, Pinder, a lot of people started him, so congrats. Creek still wasn't a bad pick. He looked bad with the 18 in the first game. Then he comes out with a 32 ends up being a pretty good pick overall, and you have the double this week, so you definitely keep him for that. I know his break-even's probably not very good right now. We should be able to click on it, and it should tell us. Break-even 85. This is 85 on his double, though. That's not 85 for a single game. He could definitely meet this. I think the 67 is completely realistic, and as a captain option, as we saw from this week, 67 is a really good score, so I think keeping him, this is why you picked him. You picked him for the 2 double games. It sucks that you're going to lose some money on him here, but I think you're keeping him here. You're probably looking at him as a captain option, and if he meets that break even, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. South Melbourne have much easier games this week. I believe they have Cairns and they have Illawarra. I'm going to double check that. It's definitely Illawarra is one of those games, and Cairns is the other one. So Illawarra and Cairns, which have been slightly weaker lineups, I think Creek is definitely really good to have here. He's even someone that I'm questioning, do you bring in at the end of the day? Maybe not bringing him in just because he's going to have that price drop, but if you're already on him, keeping him. Just for those as well that don't know, we have Tarkel out for Taipans until at least round 3, but they're also away at America at that time, so he won't be back till at least round 5. So it's going to be really nice for Creek this week. That's also another reason why Menegola from Cairns, who was 69k as well, was a really good pick. He got 23 in the one game, but yeah, with them missing their big man, he was always going to be getting these additional minutes. And he did have some good blitz games, but then he had like one really poor blitz game. One, yeah, we accept that. That's pretty good. Like, for your price, we accept like a 14, that's fine. And then like a 20 plus, that was like, damn, like he looked really good in that game. That's a hard one to sort of pass up. But knowing the other 2 games, it's like, nah, it's a bit too, I thought it was maybe a bit too silly to pick him. Hindsight, as I said, being more aggressive with this, I think he was a better pick than Aldridge to start. Obviously, he gets the 23, which is big, but it's more or less that then he gets the double games as well. So he gets his 3 games. He gets his price rise, and then he's out of here for 2 weeks. We move him down the Aldridge, bank a little bit of money, and things would have worked out quite nicely. So, bit of a miss there on my side of things. Jordan Usher, massive in one game, unsighted in the other. Like, he was a huge pivot point as to why Perth ends up winning their first game of the season against Tasmania. He just went ballistic. He was just making shots, and when you got that hot hand, you can't be stopped. Everything was just money, money, money. He was so good in that game 1, and then game 2, he just couldn't get it together. He got a few quick fouls, ended up in foul trouble, and then Henshaw gets a bunch of court time because of it, which was really good for us, but not very good for the Jordan Usher owners. And yeah, puts him in a bit of an awkward position here. It almost feels like maybe a trade. He sort of hit his break even pretty close. 18 this week. He's only got the single game. You could move him on for someone who's on the double game right now. Similar price. Yeah, there's plenty of, I think, good options around that price tag, or if you have a bit of extra cash. Yep, Goulding for people who went him. Some people, so I am obviously part of the Fan Obviously Take TV Discord, and I've been pretty active talking to people and giving advice in there from someone that's obviously watched the Blitz. Goulding, somebody asked me Goulding or Delhi. I told them Delhi, 23 points extra, very nice. As I said, Goulding wasn't my favorite pick here. He had to meet a pretty high price tag too at about 23 on the average, and I just didn't see that happening. Comes out with 20 to start, and yeah, look, in my opinion, not really the pick you wanted. Trey Kell, for a second, the start of this Adelaide game when they just run away with the game super early against the Bullets, I was sitting there going, oh man, we made mistakes not going for like Kell and Wiley. Like, these guys are insane. Kell literally gets the first 2 points of the game, instantly next play, drains the 3, gets 5 points in like 30 seconds. I'm like, oh man, this guy's been injured and only just come back, so I haven't really seen him, and that's obviously why I didn't pick him, but we might have made a mistake here. Oh no, he's going to go ballistic. And then he disappears for the whole game after that. Whew! Big sigh of release for us, but yeah, not good for the 0.7 that owned Trey Kell. And definitely just doesn't look like a Supercoach pick at all with the performances Adelaide are putting out. Now we're going to be jumping, I've just obviously gone over all the main things that happened here. I think just a lot of things that were important to, I guess, go over. Maybe a little bit too in-depth I went. Sorry if I did, guys, and you already tuned out here. Now, this is where it gets interesting because this is where the consideration comes. We have Milton Doyle, 1 game, coming into 2 doubles. Really good pick, 37 points this week, and he was really good. Very hard to look past Milton Doyle. I really want to pick him up in this guard slot. It's hard not to. Then we have Denzel Valentine. Puts out 1 point less, but $70K cheaper. I mean, if he can have 2 good double games, you're about to make a lot of money bringing him in, as well as hopefully get some great scores out of him. So somebody that is also on the list of potential players. Saying that, I'd need to watch this Sydney game. Another reason I really want to sit down and watch this Sydney game is for Valentine and Jalen Adams. I want to see how these guys looked. I mean, these guys... Obviously, Adams is the MVP from 2 years ago. Obviously, this is a different Sydney team. How is that going to affect him? Was this just a bit of a slow start for him getting back in? Even saying that slow start, 31 points is nothing to shrug at. It's a great score. So, Jalen Adams definitely on the list of potential. Valentine on the list of potential. But the only player that I did see this weekend so far has to take it over them. We're picking Milton Doyle to start. So he's jumping in there. Super impressed with his game. Yeah, honestly, Tasmania looked good, and I was just very, very happy with this. Now, the next thing I will say is in regards to McVeigh, who's also his teammate. A lot of people looking at bringing in McVeigh. I do disagree with that pick personally. Watching the game, he went ballistic from 3. I don't know the exact stats because I don't think I looked at them. I'm pretty sure I watched the game and then I just jumped to the Supercoach stats to be like, oh, okay, so that's what he got Supercoach wise. But I think he missed 1-3. He went nuts. He scored 7 out of 8 or something from 3 in a game that they really needed it. He just went nuts. He had that hot hand. But as we saw from Usher, getting a hot hand for 1 game and going ballistic doesn't make you the pick. I don't think McVeigh is the pick. For those that did and you got him this week and it went well, great. You have 2 weeks of double, live it up. He'll probably have a price jump. For those who are looking to jump on him, he's just not my preferred pick, especially around that price. I do think, as I mentioned, Valentine is probably a better option. Look, Valentine, at the end of the day, I didn't see this game, but I saw him in the preseason and I was still impressed with him in the preseason. But obviously having the game, only 1 game week 1, he was never a starting option in my opinion. But now he's a good option to potentially bring in, especially on that money making from that round 1 score. So, yeah, look, I don't agree with McVeigh. Obviously, feel free to just tell me to shut up because obviously I'm wrong, but not the pick I would go for. Alex Tui also came with a 25, so he still was really good. And this is my consideration here between 2 players. It is Sam McDaniel versus Alex Tui. And I know you guys are thinking, oh, why are you making that so hard? McDaniel's cheaper and he got 7 more points, so he's probably going to increase more in price. It seems pretty good to me. Also, Brisbane have 4 doubles over the next 5 games. So having a Brisbane player there, that's going to feel pretty good. And yeah, I definitely see all that. What scares me with McDaniel is that watching the Blitz, after the first 2 games, if someone asked you who Sam McDaniel was, I would have been like, huh? Who does he play for? I got no clue who you're talking about. This man did nothing in the first 2 Blitz games. Literally nothing. Irrelevant. Game 3, he blows the roof off. He gets the hot hand. He's making the buckets. He's built confidence out of nowhere, and he's just playing so well. And because of this, he's demanding minutes because he's playing so well. The exact same thing happens in week 1. He comes in, he's making shots, he's being aggressive, he's demanding minutes because he's playing so well. Now that's the scariest thing. Someone who has to come on to the field and play well to get the extra minutes is a little bit scary to me, where I think Tui, being the prospect that he is, almost just demands it by being there. And from what the high reps that the coach and everyone give him, I think he just demands it for being on the team and being that prospect, where I think McDaniel had to come on, and if he didn't fire early, he's coming off in a few minutes, and that's all you're really getting. You're getting a few minutes here and there with maybe low output. But if he comes off and goes off, they're going to run him for a lot longer, and obviously running him a lot longer is going to be better. He ends up, honestly, winning this game for Brisbane to a degree with how well he played. And that's just a scary thing that scares me. 2 games where you wouldn't know who this man is, and then 2 games where he's the most noticeable guy on the field. And I think that's it, because that was me after the Blitz. I was like, after game 3 and he came out, I was like, whoa, who is this guy? I don't remember seeing him at all. Did he play? Was he injured? Like, what's happened? Like, where is this guy come from? So I check out the stats for the other games, do a few quick rewatches on the other games. Not like super like in depth, but just like a little bit of information to be like, who is this guy? And he just didn't exist in those first 2 games. And that's the scary thing. He didn't exist. So that's the scary thing with McDaniel. He genuinely disappeared in 2 games, and I just don't know if they're like this 32. It's definitely not sustainable. He's not getting this each week. Don't think you're bringing in Sam McDaniel to get 30 points every week for you, and you're sitting there like, awesome, smashed it, killed it, we love it. Nope, that's probably not happening. I think Isaac White was not having a good game, which meant that his minutes were definitely going to McDaniel, who was playing well, and McDaniel was just generally doing really good stuff. So he ended up being the 6th man for them who came on, and he just ended up basically being playing more minutes than some of the starters, like super good. Now, between the 2, as I said, it's very hard to choose because we know how good Tui is, but I think, as I mentioned, that Brisbane having 4 doubles in their next 5 games, he comes into my team, and he's going to sit there for the next 5 weeks. Now, the only problem here with this is we're bringing him in now hoping for a bit of a cash grab with him because he was so cheap with such a good output, and that's the only scary thing. I don't know if he can generally put that output out every single week. It's just not plausible. Saying that, he's obviously been in... he's been in this for a bit longer. He's been in the system for a bit longer. So because of that, he should be a bit more used to it than, Tui, who's coming in very first season into the system. And that was one of the things I did weigh up with Galloway versus Tui. Galloway's been in the system already. He's been a bit more used to it, a bit more developed with it, and ended up going Galloway. And look, McDaniel, he's been in it a bit longer. Maybe this could be the extra minutes and opportunity he needs to actually get his name out there and truly explode as a player. But it is very, very scary running the 2 against each other. As I said, I haven't watched the Sydney game yet, so maybe that could sway me depending on how good Tui looks in that. But for now, we're going to lock Daniel into this team. So it leaves a lot of money left over. We're not using a boost. There's no need to use a boost yet. Somewhere I am going to use a boost. You guys probably already know this, but when Melbourne finished after their 9th game, so after round 5, when they've played 4 out of 5 doubles, boost getting used in all 3 of these players, boom, straight out of the team. That's when a boost is going to be used. Right now, I don't really need to use a boost. But what we can do is we can get Galloway on the field for Travers. We can get Cook down here and on the field for Hook Porty. And then Saar goes off for McDaniel potentially. I think that's how we could be looking. And then Air could come on for Dellavedova. So in this sense, we have 5 players on field all playing doubles. Everybody on the bench only playing a single, so we're probably going to have a bit of a weaker week this week, as I mentioned. But when we look at the break-evens, -2, -8, -23, -2, -8, like they're all going to be making money. So we leave them there. They're going to be really good in week 3. We'll accept the money for now. Then we'll run them in week 3 and hopefully get some great score out of them again. But yeah, that's the plan for those guys. Then, as I mentioned, we've got... This is where it's hard, though. It's like, as I said, does Ben Air actually outperform Delhi in one game? He's predicted at 30. Delhi's predicted at 28. But Delhi has been playing pretty out of his skin. They are versing Tasmania, who is a pretty good team, but it is in Melbourne, which is always nice. South Melbourne, though, do have a bit of an easier run. They have Cairns and Illawarra, who I don't think are looking very strong right now from either of those teams. I think they're a bit lower on the power rankings. So I think Air could come out and put out a better score than Delhi does. So that's why I've got him there. And this is also why I'm actually going to be running, I think, Cook as captain. I think Cook as captain is going to be really good here. They played Illawarra in the Blitz, and that's the game Cook went over 40 points in. And I saw a lot of centers score really well against Illawarra. I just don't think Froling is a defensive center, and because of that, he gives up a lot of points to the other centers around him. And Cook just absolutely gave him a bath in that game. I mean, it's hard to say he gave him a bath because Froling definitely struck back on the offensive end, and it was a big offensive, score fest between the two of them. It wasn't really who could play defense. It was really who would just miss an easy shot because they would just doing really well on both ends of the floor. So I think I want to run Cook as the captain this week. Milton Doyle is definitely an option too, though, but they are coming into Melbourne, which is definitely a good team. Might make it a bit harder. They're coming into Sydney, who's a good team, so it might be a bit harder. Where, as I said, matchup-wise, I think Cook maybe just has a bit of the easier matchup, which is always nice. I guess the only other potential thing we could look at moving around in this team is potentially getting Cook on field for McDaniel and just running McDaniel on the bench and using him really for a cash grab, and then running Hook Porty on the field because honestly, this man's dropping 30 points, like almost guarantee. Does McDaniel get there? I mean, he's projected as around 30 points. It's once again, it's so hard to tell. It's going to be very close. Melbourne's up against Taz. As I said, I think Tasmania is quite good though as well. Usher went off on them. Saar actually had a really good game against them as well. So another center who had a good game against them. And I do think the other center for them, I forgot his name already, wearing the face mask. He's high percentage owned by everyone. If I click on players, he's going to be right there at the top. Pinder. I think Pinder also had a really good game against them. If I do just click on him, what was his 2 scores that he put out? It only shows the 1 game, even though he played 2. That's a little bit annoying. I was really hoping to see the 2 different scores between them. Damn, I was hoping I'd have that broken up, but it does not. I can easily just go look it up on the NBL app, and I'll probably do that at a later date, but I'm pretty sure centers actually did quite well into Taz, so it does bring up the question of, do we actually maybe run Hook Porty? Is that maybe a better option? Then McDaniel on field. McDaniel into New Zealand and Cairns, though. I don't really rate New Zealand right now. Obviously Cartwright went fucking nuts. But as I said, I don't rate Cairns either, so it's hard to say. That's what I'm sort of weighing up. Obviously, you guys got to make that decision. And that's where, as I said, this is where the difference is going to come in teams. It's going to be a difference because they may have a same team, but who they actually run on the field, who they're running as captain, this is where a big variation is going to come. And over the next 5 weeks, we'll find out who really the top dogs are, who's made the correct decisions week in, week out. But this is the team I'm looking at it now. Obviously, I love it. For those who went Majak, by the way, from Tasmania, I really don't understand what was happening there. I talked about him having a high ownership, and I didn't understand why. Anyone that did try run a loophole, I only thought about this at a later date, but loopholes literally just don't work in this game mode. Like, you can't run a loophole because, let's say McDaniel doesn't play at the end of the day. We have to move McDaniel on field, move Galloway to the bench. There's no emergency. We're instantly getting 50% of Galloway's score. So we just decided that, hey, we're having a player that's not playing, so we're giving up 1 full score, and then we're moving a premium to the bench to give up half a score as well. So you're giving up 1.5 players' scores for the captain. Like, that just doesn't work. Like, your captain better have got injured. Like, your vice captain came out. No, that doesn't even. It just doesn't work. It literally doesn't work. Because even if they get injured, you're not going to know that until you've already done that. If you've taken that risk, so. Yeah, it just doesn't work in this format. So for those AFL Supercoach players, NRL, whatever you do, you can't loophole. It doesn't work out. It's a bit unfortunate. You just have to run with it. But yeah, I think I'm going to finish off by just making the team look like this. This is how I'm planning on going into the week so far. So we'll throw the captaincy on Cook. As I said, I do like Cook with the captaincy. And I think I like Doyle in the team, but as I said, I'll go check out that Sydney game and figure out if that's good or not. Tell me how your week went, guys. Tell me if you actually picked one of the teams I showed in that format. If you picked, hopefully not Team 1, as I mentioned, because of Clark being out, but hopefully you picked either format. 2, I think, was the worst out of the 3 others, but it wasn't bad. If you ended up picking up format 3 or 4 and you ended up with a great start to the season, tell me about that. Tell me if you disagree with what I'm doing here. Tell me if there's a player I'm overlooking, or if you disagree with me that you're like, nah, McVeigh's a gun. Like, get McVeigh in. It doesn't matter. Just leave your comments down below how you went in week 1. I hope that you all did sensational, because obviously I did. I don't think there's anything else to really go over here. There's Menegar, who, as I mentioned, maybe was a better pick to be starting off. Taking a look at who's getting traded in at this point, people going for, I guess, Aaron Baines. Valentine definitely coming in, as I mentioned. He's a good cash grab, and if I watch that game, maybe I'll be on top of that too. Kieran Galloway, that was just a miss, and that was a miss from me, and because of that, we're accepting those misses. It's just happened. But Baines with a good game. I don't know if I really agree with Baines. I don't know. Maybe we'll be all right. Flynn had one good game. Yeah. Those moving out, Sarr, I think you're nuts. Travers, nuts. Dellavedova, nuts. Porty, you're nuts. Like, don't trade those players out, guys. They're going to make a lot of money, and we really need money in this game. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, everyone. I really appreciate it. For all those that have subscribed, I feel like my subscriber count has gone up pretty well to start the season. Obviously, I let go a lot of videos in the last week before the season started, and hopefully all of you had great outcomes from following the advice on those. But till next time, peace, later, love y'alls.